Pokemon can be dark. They are just the animals of their world after all, and like animals, some Pokemon eat others. Some even kill just for the heck of it, like house cats. And that's not a theory, that's fully canon. There are Pokedex entries that state this. There are even some Pokedex entries that talk about Pokemon being hunted by humans, some to near extinction, or just for a single part of their body. It's dark and messed up, but so is life. And even with those dark things being canon in the lore, you as a player never actually see any of these things taking place, let alone be a part of it. Or worse, actively doing it. You never hunt Pokemon to kill them, and you don't murder Pokemon either. Or do you? Is there perhaps an instance where you do kill a Pokemon? And no, I don't mean that Raticate theory. Get that thing out of here. We're talking way more recent, and something that you can actively do again and again if you want. Go on a wild spree of it. So let's delve into this mystery of Pokemon murder. But first, let me tell you about today's sponsor, Amino. And wait, before you click on ahead, let me just say this sponsor is absolutely perfect for this video for reasons you'll see when I bring them up again in the middle. It's just too good, it's like a pun or something. So what is Amino? Well, it's a set of internet communities with fandoms of all sorts. Cosplay, sports, lifestyles, video games, no matter your interest, there's an Amino community for you. And you don't have to worry about broad discussion boards. Amino gets specific. Mario, Sonic, My Hero Academia, Steven Universe, and the Pokemon community on Amino is especially active and awesome. Share ideas, share theories, discuss topics, set up Pokemon battles and trades with text and voice chat, and now you can even chat with 3D avatars, set up polls, take quizzes, share fan art, loads! And best of all, it's completely free. Also, feel free to follow me on there too. So if you are interested in being a part of a community that shares your interest, just click the link at the top of the description and I hope to see you there. So, what if I told you that a lot of you watching this video very likely have killed one of your Pokemon? It probably wasn't intentional. In fact, you probably didn't even realize it, you cold-hearted monster. And after I tell you this, doing so will result in you murdering your Pokemon in the future, you double monster, actively knowing that you're killing it, and it's all just because you wanted a stronger Pokemon. Come on, the whole moral of the story of all Pokemon media ever is about not having the strongest team. It's about showing love to your Pokemon. Though, then again, Hydreigons do their thing in nature anyway. But even still, it begs the question, is owning a Hydreigon the most unethical Pokemon to have? Is it perhaps the most unethical evolution to go through? Maybe you don't know what I'm talking about, so let's back up a lot. We have to go all the way back to our little friend, Dino.
Rawr.
Yes, Dino, you're our friend.
Rawr.
Dinos are little baby emo dragons, and they are totally blind because of that. Makes you wonder if they even have any eyes under the emo haircut. Some Pokedex entries for Dino read, lacking sight, it's unaware of its surroundings, so it bumps into things and eats anything that moves. They cannot see, so they tackle and bite to learn about their surroundings. Their bodies are covered in wounds. Aww, poor dinos. These red spots are a bunch of wounds. So obviously, taking one in and taking care of it is a very nice thing to do. It's just like taking in a disabled pet and giving it the best life that you can possibly give it. Except you fight with it.
お前はもう死んでいる。何?
So right away, you could say that this isn't at all one of the most unethical Pokemon to own. In fact, it's quite the opposite. But what happens when you evolve it? It becomes a Zweilous. And I sure hope I'm pronouncing that right, because boy, otherwise this comment section's going to be huge. But trust me, I looked it up, found like 40 different ways to pronounce it, and that one makes the most sense. Zweilous, it's German. So upon evolving into Zweilous, it loses all of those wounds. While theoretically still blind because it still has emo hair, it seems to have gotten a hang of itself, and it sprouted some wings, though there are loads of quotations around the word wings there, because I'm not so sure those qualify. It also gained claws and this belly design, and it's a lot wider, and I feel like I'm forgetting something new about it. Oh! The second head. Just imagine for a moment growing up and then one day you just sprout a second head. Something else to think about is that, fun fact, of all the Pokemon that evolve by level alone, Dino evolves into its second out of 3 forms later than any other Pokemon, evolving at level 50, then again at 64, meaning that if, in the wild perhaps, level has anything to do with age, Dinos go through most of their lives blind and afraid, and then just sprout an extra head while they're middle-aged. Not that having or growing an extra head is anything new in the Pokemon world, though. Plenty of Pokemon have multiple heads and then evolve to get even more. But just imagine for a moment what having a second head is like. A second consciousness sharing your body. Do you both have total control of your body and take turns? Or do you each control a different half? Thankfully, we don't have to live in wonder too much in this regard because of Abby and Brittany Hansel, conjoined twins who appear extra wide. In fact, they have more than just 2 heads, but also 2 hearts, 2 spines, 2 stomachs, and 4 lungs, and each control half of their body. While a struggle to get motor skills down at first, they've managed to figure things out. Though while we can look at them as a base example, their situation is different. They were born this way and have separate systems, whilst Violet just sprouted a second head, and based on what we know, they still share bodily systems. In fact, looking at the Pokedex entries, I think Violet is also mainly controlled all by 1 head. These Pokedex entries state, the 2 heads do not get along. Whichever head eats more than the other gets to be the leader. Since their 2 heads do not get along and compete with each other for food, they always eat too much. After it has eaten up all of the food in its territory, it moves to another area. Its 2 heads do not get along. So here we have plenty of questions answered. The 2 heads are 2 different consciences, sharing the same body. It's like taking multiple personality disorder and making it physical, and neither of them like each other. And considering that they overeat all the time, one would assume that they have 1 stomach, and thus 1 bodily system. Each head eats as much as it can, and I'm sure they know their overall limit, but they try to each eat that limit themselves. And then, whoever eats most becomes leader. Whether this means the decision maker or the one who controls the body, we don't know for sure, but I think it's safe to assume that the leader gets both. Now, just imagine growing a second head in your middle ages. It has a mind of its own, and it's better than you, so it takes over your body. Surely this isn't the case for every Dino evolving into Xylis. Just as often, I'm sure the original head and Pokemon you love is the leader, but not always. Just imagine the feeling the original Dino is feeling now if it isn't the leader. It doesn't own or control its own body anymore. And that's just because it can't eat as much as this new imposter head. It can't even take all the credit or praise you give it for battling well, because the new head has taken over its life entirely. No wonder they're emo. And then, of course, being the trainer you are, you wish for your Pokemon to become ever stronger. So you train and push it so that it evolves once again, now, into a Hydreigon. Here are some Pokedex entries. This brutal Pokemon travels the sky on its 6 wings. Anything that moves seems like a foe to it, triggering its attack. It responds to movement by attacking. This scary 3-headed Pokemon devours everything in its path. The heads on their arms do not have brains. They use all 3 heads to consume and destroy everything. Did you catch that? The heads on the arms don't have brains. They are basically sock puppets, but with real mouths. Hydreigon only has 1 consciousness. And while the optimist among us wants to assume that the 2 consciousnesses became 1, considering the 2 heads never got along and are always fighting for leadership, it's probably safe to say that whichever is the leader at the time of evolving is the one that gets to stay. And that might not be your original Dino. Your poor Dino that you raised up all those years. Gone. Now just a puppet head on the hand of the imposter head, and because you were the one that pushed it to evolve, you are essentially the one that killed it. Where's the love? And more interestingly, what's the science involved here? Who's in control at the time of evolving seems a bit arbitrary. What's to stop the follower head from just taking over really fast at the time of evolving? No, there has to be something physical going on. And the Pokedex entry specifically mentions brains. It would make sense for the body while evolving to choose the biggest and more powerful brain to now be the only brain. That would make sense for survivability's sake. Yeah. So now here's the theory, and the sponsor pun, by the way. The reasons violists eat so much all the time is to make their brains bigger, or at least smarter, able to react quicker. The better brain wins in the end. And what is one way to help build your brain? By eating, of course. Could be that Zvialists do have 2 stomachs, but still, their bodies are only so big, so by the time their entire body is full, one head has eaten more than the other, so its stomach would be the one taking in most of the food, and that benefits its brain more. But what is it about food that would specifically help the brain in this case? Well, it's the amino acids. Just like today's sponsor, amino acids are pretty good for the brain. Amino acids are the building blocks of all sorts of parts in the body, but notably in this case, they are used to make and repair neurotransmitters, the parts in the brain that let the brain, well, do. So the more amino a Zvialist head takes in, the less likely you'll murder it when you evolve it. I can't wait to see this video being discussed on amino. Bad puns are my favorite. But still, we're getting a little too lighthearted here. Back to the darkness. These heads compete eat again and again, trying to make their own brains better. And whomever has the better, dominant brain in the end gets to become a high dragon. And the other head shrivels away and just becomes a hand. And another brainless head and hand also pops out for good measure. So how does it feel now, knowing that your beloved Dino may suffer as a Zvialist and in the end only winds up becoming a lobotomized puppet? Maybe you just didn't know it at the time. And that's fine. But now that you do, perhaps you can partake in some Pokemon murder.
Stab me in the back.
And maybe that's why Hydreigons are mostly used by villains in Pokemon. Well, that or it's because they are dark type. And really, this is all just a dark theory, so you can take it with a grain of salt. And let me know your thoughts on the matter down in the comments. And while you're down there, why not check out Amino with that link in the description? It will help this channel a lot. And until next time, please remember to never stop using that noggin. Because if you do, a second head may pop up with a bigger and better noggin, and it will take over your life and make it miserable, and then your family and friends will all prefer to hang out with the new head instead of you, and it will take over, and when you decide you've had enough, you will go into surgery to get it removed, and the doctors take a liking to it, and so they remove you instead, and that... But first, let me tell you about today's sponsor, Amino. And wait, before you click on ahead, let me just say this sponsor is absolutely perfect for this video for reasons you'll see when I bring them up again in the middle. It's just too good, it's like a pun or something. So what is Amino? Well, it's a set of internet communities with fandoms of all sorts. Get that thing out of here. We're talking way more recent. And something that you can actively do again and again if you want. Go on a wild spree of it. So let's delve into this mystery of Pokemon murder. Pokemon can be dark. They are just the animals of their world after all, and like animals, some Pokemon eat others. Some even kill just for the heck of it, like house cats. And that's not a theory, that's fully canon. There are Pokedex entries that state this. There are even some Pokedex entries that talk about Pokemon being hunted by humans, some to near extinction, or just for a single part of their body. It's dark and messed up, but so is life. And even with those dark things being canon in the lore, you as a player never actually see any of these things taking place, let alone be a part of it. Or worse, actively doing it. You never hunt Pokemon to kill them, and you don't murder Pokemon either. Or do you? Is there perhaps an instance where you do kill a Pokemon? And no, I don't mean that Raticate theory.